This is The Growl with your host, William.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon. 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 When it rains, it pours.
Hey, you. Thank you for putting your ear to the wooded winds and listening for The Growl this week. I wanted to expand on relationships. And last week we dealt with my perspective, the two kind of personality types that I've seen, the test driver or the warranty type person when it comes to looking at relationships and how you want to establish one. This week, I want to talk more in depth about what I call that beautiful poem of you. And that poem is everything about you. It's your heart, soul, mind, body, everything that encompasses you based on your experiences, your beliefs, your attitude in your perception of the world and everyone else in it. I've always, said now Jerry Maguire, the movie, I know the marketing people and the writers, and they thought it was this really, really kind of cute and, adorable romantic thing to say, which was that you complete me. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I believe people should complement one another, not complete one another. And a lot of that really deals with this poem, this beautiful poem of you, this expression of your soul, heart, mind, and body, and how other people perceive that. On a general level, I view relationships and us as stories. And as you go through life, people that enter your life, a good majority of them are probably going to be Cliff's Notes, right? Not a lot there, not a lot of depth. You know them, you're an acquaintance, somebody, that you meet at a bar. When you're at happy hour, you might see them every now and then, you say hello and you're friendly. And then you have, or people, like at church, you pretty much see them like every Sunday. That's about it. Then you have your stories. These are the friendships, even family, friendships, and your love interests and the more intimate relationships throughout your life that really create these stories. And let's face it, some are horror stories, some are novels, some are the great American novel. My parents, the great American novel. I mean, they're over 50 years of marriage, still just madly in love. An amazing life that they have and everything that they've done. They raised, three of us boys. And they're still there. They're still there. It's that, a deep involvement in each other's poem. And in a lot of that, they have been very instrumental in the writing of each other's poem based on their relationship. But it's that story. And so if you enter into a relationship, and every relationship will end, it will end. For my parents, it simply will be who leaves this planet first. But every relationship will end. And if you can honestly look back and say, that was a great adventure, that was a great story, because it either taught you something, It was something that was just amazing, but for whatever reason, you guys had to go your separate paths. But if you can honestly, when you put it into your heart's library and say that was meaningful, well, then something good has happened. And again, even if it was a horror story, or even if it was a short story, or a great novel, again, who knows? Where these, but relationships, they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So this poem of you, and this beautiful poem of you, there are so many facets to it. And you've got to understand that when people approach this poem, one of two things happens. And a lot of it is based on one, how much of this poem are you willing, how many pages are you willing to give to them to read? And in turn, how many pages are they willing to read? Kind of expanding on the test drive as compared to the warranty in last episode. The test driver, the first thing they notice about your poem is your physical attributes, the pheromones, your scent, your visual, your passionate and physical attributes. So they're really digging that side of your poem. And as they get in there and the two of you experience those pages of your poem, you may find, and I have been guilty of this, where my physical needs and wants were met, so I stopped reading the poem. I stopped reading her poem at that point. There was really no more interest in it. Now, mind you, being able to sense and really dive into the words and paragraphs of that part of her poem, how, getting her O's, her nerve endings, the physical attributes of her, and how to manipulate that pleasure for both of us, was all about those pages. But when it came down to doing laundry together, or going shopping and doing other things, really then it kind of ended there. So a lot of my relationships have ended based on that. And so it's not only how many pages you're willing to give up, how many pages you're willing to read, but it's also knowing where you stop, right? Where you finish reading. Now, I've known people that have kind of your casual, they get together once in a while, they satisfy each other completely, they know each other completely on that level, and then they go off and they live their lives. And they're perfectly stable and happy and content with that. There are other people that are willing to give their entire poem because they're looking for that absolute connection, that absolute being able to compliment someone completely, involving, those coffee conversations that involve the entire universe, right? In where we began in life, and joking and being involved on that mental and emotional stimulation as well as the physical. So this beautiful poem of you, and how much do you give up? How much, do you keep? How much, do you just kind of throw out a couple paragraphs at a time? Do you give it all away? And a lot of that is really based on, you and your experiences and where you've been with relationships. I think a lot of people, when they say somebody is jaded, they're like, oh, well, this person, she's been hurt, or he just, he's an asshole because he's had too many failed relationships, blah, blah, blah. Most of that really boils down to fear. And it's a fear of that vulnerability. When you give these things over, you are opening yourself up to be read and to be experienced. And And it is a risk you take because there are people out there that will read so far and then they're done. They're done reading. They're thank you. I don't need, I don't need any more. And that's a frightening risk to take, especially when it comes to relationships. So I found that you present a couple of pages and see. And if you have someone, and I'll bring up another phrase or another quote. Now, this is something I don't like. I really don't. And it's to me, it's an excuse. It's when somebody says, I can't read your mind. See, to me, that means they're not willing to invest in what it takes to truly, really dive into your poem, to understand your poem. An example, and this is just, my best friend, right? The hummingbird. I have counted over the years that we've known each other, at least 5, maybe even 10 different smiles, and they all mean something different. I have also been able to pick up just based on our relationship and knowing that her poem as I do, when she is angry, when she's upset, when she wants to be left alone. And these things are all nonverbal. It's the energy. It's that knowing her, not just on a, I'm angry right now, leave me alone. It's, I can tell, I can see it in her eyes, the energy she just gives off in a room, whether that's joy, happiness, sad, and somebody who knows your poem, somebody who has invested the time into getting to know you and that poem of you through, no, give me another page, please give me another page. I want to know what you're interested in, what your favorite things are, where you like to go, what you want, when you're sad, what happens when you're angry, how do you respond? That when somebody comes up and they're, I can't read your mind. To me, that's an excuse. That's basically them telling you, I'm not willing to invest any further in your poem than where we're at right now. And you have to make a decision at that point. Really, truly. You have to make a decision at that point. There are some people that have been together because the sex is amazing. The rest of their relationship sucks, but they stay together because to some degree, those wants and needs on that level are being met. And they have accepted the fact or compromised the fact that, okay, that's where that poem ends for them. There are no more pages to be given. I don't, and some people are okay with that. Other people aren't. So those vulnerabilities, putting your pages out there, giving that poem of you to the world, to other people, it also kind of holds into your truth. Probably next episode, I'll be talking about true love, a lot of things with truth. But for here, it's how much of your poem do you want to show the world? And again, this isn't just like your love relationships. This isn't just those intimate relationships. This is family. This is friends. This is coworkers. This is the world. You are presenting yourself and that poem of you to the world. So every day you need to decide. My example, like at work. Okay, there's maybe one guy I know there that on a friendship level, I'm willing to talk and discuss, things that are a little bit more on a deeper level as to, my points of view or how I view the world or see the world, funny things that I would find entertaining. And we both kind of mesh on that level, on that friendship. We both have these kind of similar interests. So we have both offered each other, a little bit deeper, a few more pages of a poem that maybe, I've got another guy at work that, we'll probably never sit down and have a beer with him. We'll never really talk about anything else besides work. And all in all, I'm okay with that. I really have no desire to know this individual any more than I do. And that's okay. And that's, where you start to develop these relationships and where your poem builds and what you're willing to give. And that's okay. But it's knowing where you're at, what story you want to build, what path you want to take, and who you want around your campfire and who you want to share these things with. But that's what makes that beautiful poem of you. We are on a planet of well over 7 billion different worlds. Every single one of us is different. We all have a different perspective. We all have a different point of view. We all have different experiences, wisdom. Now, there are similar events. Mind you, there are groups that come together based on similar experience, but each and individual experience is yours and yours alone. I've been known to say that it's like, you know what, you die alone, and you essentially do. Now, you have people with you, maybe holding your hand, on your deathbed many years from now, but you're still dying alone. You're taking that path on your own. So, I'm sure, the ones you want with you are the ones that you have shared that truth with and that you have given your poem to on the most deep and intimate levels of whether friendship, family, or intimate, that they then can carry that story on. They can, they then remember you, right? I mean, graveyards are for the living. They're not for the dead. It's so that your legacy will continue. And I'm sure I'm kind of, rambling at this point, but how much do you give away? And in tune, it's knowing how much somebody really wants to read. And I think that's more the key. I think people get caught up in these relationships. They like, well, I want this, and I want this great connection, and I want that, and I want this. And it's like, okay, well, how many pages of your poem have you given to them to read, and how many have they actually picked up to read? One thing, I've had friends that come up and they're like, well, we did this, we did that, but I don't think it's like, okay, well, does he or she know what your favorite color is? Do they know what your favorite flower is? Do they know that you like your coffee this way? Do they step out of their way to get, little trinkets, things that they know that you like, whether it's just something cheesy, whether it's something you are, just whatever it might be. These are things, it's these little things that they pick up by reading these pages of your poem. There are things like it's that concept of the guy that, asks the girl, it's like, well, hey, your girlfriend comes up and she's like, oh, let's go out to eat somewhere. And then the guy's like, well, where do you want to go? And she's like, well, I don't know. It's like, okay, well, you know what? Instead of stepping out and being like, well, I can't read your mind. I don't know where you want to go. Or you just choose somewhere at random. How many restaurants have you guys been to? What kind of foods does she really, really like? Okay, Indian food. She loves Indian food. Now, you guys have always gone to this one place. It's her favorite place. However, I don't know, maybe surprise her. You go to a different Indian restaurant, still has her same type of food, but you go somewhere different. Maybe surprise her a little bit and go, hey, I know you love Indian food. We've always gone here, but I thought I'd check this place out, see what you think, see how you feel about it. These are those things, those everyday little things. Being able to, especially, okay, let's look at family environment, especially, the guy comes home from work and, mom's been there and she's dealing with the kids all day and blah, 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 and this and just, whatever the frustration is. And when she gives him that look, the guy has one of two options, right? He can be like, oh, well, hey, well, what's for dinner? And, oh, I'm tired. I had this long day at work. No, it could be that, hey, you know what? Why don't you just, why don't you go for a quick drive or take a walk or do something? I got the kids for like a half an hour or an hour. What were you thinking for dinner? Can I get something started? So while I'm hanging with the kids, you can go take a little bit of a break. You've been working all day too. It's, whether it's with the kids, but you've still been doing this. And it's those things. This is how people complement each other. To me, when you try to complete someone, you are really saying this is what I want, so I am going to do everything in my power to convince you that you want the same thing. When you compliment somebody, you're saying, I love the fact that you're different. I love that uniqueness about you. I love that poem of you. And I am willing to share the poem of me and my world. And then let's just exchange that gravity field as we orbit each other, just enough so that we appreciate it, but we're also in it together. So that beautiful poem of you and being able to express it. And you got to get to know yourself too. That's something a lot of people I don't think realize is, you put the magazines down, put down, this is what women really want, and this is what men want, and this, because they don't really know. They're giving you a perspective of what they think based on survey says, right? They did a poll of, 100 different people that, women like to get roses on Valentine's Day. Great, whatever. But if your girlfriend's favorite flower happens to be a tulip, then why would you get roses? You see what I'm saying? This is where I'm talking about, getting to know somebody's poem and being able to really dive into that. And then also knowing that their vulnerabilities when they start handing pages to you, and respect that, because they are really genuinely saying, here's a piece of my heart, right? Here is a piece of my soul. Here is my point of view on the world, whether it's politics, religion, sex, whatever it might be. I just brought up the main ones that you're never supposed to talk about, but those are the ones that people are most vulnerable in because they are powerful. And our opinions and perspectives of those things are powerful. But you're also very vulnerable because you could end up being on opposite ends of the spectrum. Prime example, you and I could go into a movie, the exact same movie, and walk out with a completely different perspective of what that movie was about. Now, somebody that knows each other's poem, and they know those perceptions, any discussion then becomes exciting because they're, well, no, I saw this and I saw that. And it was like, yeah, but I was thinking, she was doing this and this is what it symbolized. And then you can actually have a wonderful conversation over coffee after the movie. You go, you get, dessert, coffee, and then you discuss it. A lot of people, they walk out and instead of listening to that part of the poem, that voice, that is part of it, the voice of this person. Instead of listening to understand their poem, how it relates to you, you're listening to be able to respond. So you automatically step into a debate statement, which means you're shutting that person's poem down. You are shutting down that beauty because you're shutting down what their heart and soul truly saw, what it felt, what they experienced. And if you just shut it down, well, then at that point, you might as well just be like, look, I only want to go so far with this poem. I only want so many pages. Again, kind of what I said a little while back. There are people out there, they have casual relationships, they have people that they just hook up with. They know a certain part of that person's poem intimately, and those are the only pages they ever want to know about. And that's okay, as long as both people know that that's where they're at. Unfortunately, there are, I don't know how many men have said, I love you, to get laid. And what's even more unfortunate is how many women have actually believed them and have given themselves up. So beyond rambling too much, that's kind of my take, this beautiful poem of you, know how vulnerable you want to be and know and be able to experience and know on a much more intimate level how far somebody really wants to dive into your story and how far they want to dive into your poem. And then you can determine how far you want to take that story with this person. So to wrap up this ramble, to wrap up this growl, just remember that we complement each other. We shouldn't complete each other. Everybody has an amazing poem to offer the world, and it's okay to be careful. It's okay to throw your whole book out there if you want to. That's an amazing vulnerability, and I imagine that probably takes great strength. The risk is getting hurt would probably be a little more painful. You throw out a few pages, and then it's kind of this, I'll give you a little bit of this, and you then give me a little bit of that. Well, that can work too. However, I think it would take too long to really get anywhere, and that you just never would, because then at that point, I think you're just, there's an expectation. It's I give you this much, then you will give me this much. And I've never known that to work well in relationships. So you'll know how much somebody really digs your poem. You will, because you can feel it. You can feel it in how they respond, how they act, and the ability to read. And let's not say read your mind, but read your heart. Can they read your soul? They know what your smiles are. They know your frowns, your smiles. They know your body language. They know the tone of your voice. They know these things. Those are the people that truly want to dive into your poem. They want to know all of it and then be involved in actually writing, helping you write some of it, and you help them write some of theirs. And to me, that's pretty badass. So thank you for letting me ramble. Thank you for listening to The Growl. I'm going to go do the damn thing. You go do the damn thing, and the damn thing will get done. I'm your host, William. It was good growling at you. If you want to hear more growl, get growly with it. By all means, please subscribe. I'm on all popular podcast locations. You can also reach me to rage, debate, growl back at thegrowl@gmail.com. That's thegrowl, 2 W's, @gmail.com. Growling at you later.
Hope they won't shoot me down soon. Facing more the sleepless night. Will you find me? Hope you find